Now this is my out of the home theater review from Michael on 4K UHD. I'm not going to talk about how good or bad the movie is, I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and the video quality. Now, let's go over a few tech specs. So this movie was shot in 8.6K on the Sony Venice cameras. Also, there are a few scenes that are shot on 16mm and 35mm film to give some of those older scenes some of that vintage feel. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 127 minutes, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Now, before we take a look at the audio and see how active the audio mix is, if you are unsure of what the Dolby Atmos object viewer is, this is basically going to show you everything that's going on in this audio mix. So it will show each one of my 18 channels, which is in my theater right now. It's going to show you what each of those speakers are doing. So the green speakers are going to be the active speakers. The black boxes are going to be the inactive speakers, meaning they're not making any sound. And the yellow balls are going to be the objects, which can be anything from wind, birds, or any kind of combination of different sound effects that would be floating around the room or through the different speakers. Now I am using 18 Krix theater speakers. There is a link down below in this video's description if you want to check out that review. And for subwoofers, I do have 8 subwoofers from RBH, 5 in the front, 3 in the back, so I am not limited for bass response. And as far as my video quality, I am using a 150-inch projection screen fueled by a Sony Bravia 8 4K projector. Links down in this video's description for all the associated gear that I use for these 4K reviews. All right, so I did take some notes. I'm going to read over my notes since this is an out of the home theater review, so I didn't write any scripts or anything like that. So let's go over the audio mix. I'm going to go through all of the timestamps because each one of these concert melodies are basically just 7.1 channels. So only 7 bed layer channels are active with no top channels active whatsoever. And there are a few of them. So the first one happens at 11 minutes and 58 seconds. We have no tops. Again, just the lower 7 channels are active. We have a 19 minutes 30 seconds, which is the ABC number. 24 minutes 44 seconds, I'll Be There. You're going to hear a lot of the crowd in the surround channels and then the vocals in the front stage. 32 minutes 6 seconds, this is Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. This scene, again, 7 channels, although this is the concert that has maybe the most bass so far out of all these musical beats. And then at 48 minutes and 28 seconds, this is for the song Ben. This is where we go into full surround mode. So you're going to see that all of the top channels are active, which is going to give you a really big spacious feel, which makes it sound like you are in the stadium. So you're going to hear the crowd filling out in the lower channels. At 1 hour 10 minutes, this is the song Beat It. You can hear him say Beat It. It'll go from the left side of the room over to the right side of the room, and it'll kind of bounce back and forth every time he starts saying Beat It. At 1 hour 11 minutes 30 seconds in, this is the start of Thriller. And again, all of the channels will become active. You're going to hear the lightning overhead, Vincent Price laughing in the surround channels, and then it'll fill out all the channels until it slowly folds down into a 7-channel mix. At 1 hour 19 minutes 25 seconds, this is the first time he is singing Billie Jean at the Motown 25 celebration, I believe it is. So this is a full-on active mix. 6 overhead channels. The crowd will fill out the lower bed channels, and then again the vocals are going to be in the front center channel. At 1 hour 29 minutes 56 seconds, this is the Pepsi commercial, that infamous Pepsi commercial. This has a really good thumping bass, which sounds like it's almost like a heartbeat thumping. The musical bits in this piece is only 7.1 channels. So really I only brought this up because the bass sounded pretty good. And then for about the last 25 to 20 minutes of this movie, which clocks in at about 1 hour 42 minutes 30 seconds, this is when all of your channels will become active because this is basically just all concert footage from here on out. So what we are going to hear is really strong reverberation in the surround channels, which is going to recreate this stadium atmosphere. So it's going to sound really big in your theater. Vocals are again going to be planted right in the front stage, right in the center channel, while the crowd will fill out all of the available surround channels. And then you will hear some reverberation and some light echo in the top channels as well. And then when Bad kicks in, which comes in at about 1 hour 54 minutes, that I believe has the most bass out of this movie. Well, I think it's a toss-up between that and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I'm going to say not demo-worthy bass, but it is pretty strong for all of the musical bits. So you will get some pretty good tactile bass out of your subwoofers. Not demo worthy, but it does kick pretty nicely. With all that being said, most of the musical numbers in this movie are only going to be in 7.1 until the last 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to say for about 80% of this movie, it will be in a 7.1 layout, which is a little bit disappointing considering this is Michael Jackson. You would think that they would really envelop you from start to finish with all the musical bits in this movie, but unfortunately, it's just 7 channels for most of the runtime. Now, as far as video quality, this was shot digitally in 8.6K with digital cameras with a few select scenes in 16 and 35 millimeter. And you could tell for all the digital bits that it looks like they did add some light film emulation. So this is not, despite being shot in one of Sony's best digital cameras in 8.6K, this does not have that super crisp digital look. So I'm sure that they added some light film emulation throughout because there is a very light layer of grain, so a very light texture. There still is some pretty good detail, so some of the close-up shots are really good. It's not super crisp, so you're not going to really see like really fine, deep pores or anything like that. The makeup effects, which I guess adding that digital grain will help some of the prosthetics that they used on Michael's face or his nephew's face to look more like Michael. So that definitely would help, having that faux film emulation mask a lot of the prosthetic work done to his face. That said, detail is still really good. It's really clean throughout the entire movie. The color palette is very natural. HDR I didn't think was overly hot, overly dark in any direction. Again, just really natural throughout, so you're not going to be blown away by super bright peak highlights, although the explosion during the Pepsi commercial is probably the brightest part in this movie. Black levels were solid throughout. I didn't see any detail being crushed in the shadows in the darker scenes. You can make out all the crowds in the lower lit scenes for all those stadium concert footage. And for the daytime scenes, again, very natural color palette throughout. So for video quality, I thought this was a solid transfer. I don't think it's going to be something you're going to whip out to show off how clean and crisp your 4K display can look or how HDR can look fantastic. But again, it is a solid overall transfer with some really good detail and some really nice pleasant HDR. So I'm going to go with an 8.5 for video. Audio quality wise, I was a little bit disappointed in this mix. I wanted a bit more envelopment, especially for all of that concert stuff and all the musical numbers. However, it was just only in 7.1 channels for most of the time. Although it does kind of make up for it within the last 20 to 25 minutes. So that kind of picks everything up to end the movie on a big high crescendo, I guess. Bass was decent, nothing demo worthy, but it is strong for the last 20 to 25 minutes once again. And just the overall experience of Michael on the big screen here, I felt that they did a really good job of recreating a lot of his songs. So I'm going to go with an 8.8 for audio. So what are your thoughts on Michael on 4K UHD? Have you seen it? And are you going to be picking it up on 4K Blu-ray or on 4K digital, which is the version that I watched on iTunes? Leave your thoughts down below and let me know. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video.